I had fun riding around in the Lambo last night up and down the strip. Parked it underneath the time machine. And it's pretty crazy, the garage that I have. It's like that poster, remember the poster about higher learning, time machine, you know, Knight Rider. This is getting to be awesome. So yeah, I didn't show this last night. This is, or on the last video, this is the windows out and the top off, targa top. Now, of course, this is not what a Lamborghini would have, but for driving around on the strip, it's awesome. I gotta tell you, it's absolutely awesome. People were breaking their necks looking at this thing. I drove it around for a couple of hours. The headlight motors are not working, so they have to be manually wound up. Probably just a couple of relays. Dude put square headlights on it. We all know that they use round Carellos or Caravellos. Got one busted out fog light over here, which aren't correct. They look like just cheap fog lights. I've actually been in touch with the guy that built this car a little bit, and the guy that originally bought it. I think the guy that originally bought it spent about over $40,000 having this thing put together in the late 90s. And then ended up selling it for way less than half of that to the guy I bought it from. And I got it for steal. I got it for 20 grand. I think I mentioned that in the video, but maybe I didn't. The guy that I bought it from wasn't super familiar with cars. He didn't really know much about cars. He just knew it was cool, and it is. Underneath these seat covers are the white seats. I may take these seat covers off and have them analyzed. I've been talking with some guys that, you know, do Lamborghini replica stuff. I want to get a period correct 25th wheel, which is a little different than this. Same wheel, just has a different cover on it. I want to redo this dash with all the proper buttons and switches in it. So all this dash is coming out. Center console is going to be redone. It is an automatic, and what I want to put in is what looks like a gated shifter, but will actually be a sliding automatic. Put in some of the proper stuff. I'm talking with my buddy Fiero Mike, who does mechanic stuff for me. He's a Fiero expert. We're talking about our options for things we want to do for the car. Engine swap potentially, adding air conditioning, electric power steering. I actually have electric power steering on the DeLorean that we put on. So they make these kits where it has an electric assist that is part of the steering column. I think they use these on Priuses and other cars. It's not 100% necessary, but it's something I'd like to have. It's gonna cost me about $1,000 for the part and then the work. I wanna put correct Lamborghini collar over this steering wheel, correct turn signals, gauges and things. Put the correct door latches on. Maybe redo this window system a bit better than the way it is, because basically what you've got here is just, it's not terribly done. I mean, it could be worse. You know, when it's put together, it's not as bad as it appears, but the car actually runs and drives great. I was considering just leaving the Fiero V6 in there, but it is a pretty anemic, weak motor, and I've got that Cadillac motor in my other Lamborghini project that's in Texas, so I might just bring that whole car back with me. But I was thinking about putting it up on the lift and having a look underneath it. What do you think? So that means I'd have to take this out, drop this, pull the DeLorean out, and then it's just a bunch of stuff. So.
What can I get for you today?
Let me get that deluxe cravings box.
What for your drink?
Diet, whatever, Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi?
Yeah. If you have a Lamborghini, you gotta, or a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari or whatever, you have to go to Taco Bell. I think Hoovy started that tradition, and who am I to stop it now? exercise, which I figure it's probably time I clean my pipes. This is weird. This is a taco made out of a Dorito. I'm gonna eat it. Honestly, it's a little too much, you know. The Dorito and the taco, it's a little too much. Too much seasoning. Yeah. I have to wonder what's wrong with the taste buds of the people who go to Taco Bell, because they're way over seasoning this stuff. And maybe it's just because like I'm a white boy. But you know, the people that are eating this stuff are probably the same people eating those fired Cheetos or whatever. I don't know if this is a regional thing or if they do this everywhere. They have French fries here. French fries and cheese. Are they doing that everywhere? You're trying to tell me this is the best we can do, folks? I mean, I guess it's good. I'm eating it. I gotta say, after living here out in Las Vegas for a while, eating stuff like this is more of a punishment. Maybe when I was younger, I used to think that it was a treat to go have fast food. But now that I live around some of the greatest restaurants in the world, when I'm forced to eat this stuff, I say forced, I mean, I feel like it's a compromise or a punishment. You know, if somebody says to me, all right, we got to go to McDonald's, I'm like, oh man, really? What did I do to you? And yet I continue to eat it. I don't think I can eat any more of this. I can feel my insides screaming, no! Okay, so last night, while I was rendering and uploading the video that you saw today, or yesterday, depending on when I get this up, I decided to take the car out for a test drive. Drove it up and down the Las Vegas Strip. Didn't do any recording of it because I was busy driving. The car idled fine. Probably took me an hour or more to drive down the Strip. Drove around Fremont a couple of times, then drove it on the highway back home. I noticed that it got hotter on the highway than it did idling, which I thought was strange. But on this car, as I showed you before, the radiator is tilted, raked back with it. And in my opinion, I think it should be forward. Pretty sure it's supposed to be forward. So there's like no airflow other than what the fan is producing, blowing over the radiator. So at idle, at low RPM, at like 700 or 800 RPMs, the fan seems to keep it cool. But at high RPMs, 2,000-3,000 RPMs, going 60, 70 miles an hour, there's not enough airflow. And actually, the wind is actually creating a kind of a vacuum, I think, sort of a wind umbrella, and it's just not getting enough airflow. So we're talking about some of our options that we want to do for the car. Now, you remember the Lamborghini, as I call it, that's at my shop in Texas. I'm at my shop here in Las Vegas. I got to go back there in a couple weeks. When I go back, I think I'm going to get that car and bring it and all of its parts back. It's got a Cadillac V8 motor in it, which is a popular for the Fieros. And that conversion was done. And it's a brand new motor with a brand new AC compressor and everything on it, which is why I bought the car. I think I'm going to steal the motor out of that car, put it in this one. We're going to redo this radiator so that it's raked forward. I think maybe we could just change the bracketry and maybe even put two small radiators in the air scoops in the back, just like a real Lamborghini would have. I'm not really concerned about the performance. I would like the sound of that V8. It's going to sound a lot better than this Fiero V6. But I don't particularly need it to be a hot rod. I don't need it to be fast. You can't see shit in the car. I really don't want to hot rod this thing. And quite frankly, it's just a big RC car. Imagine a toy RC car that you put the plastic cover on top of. There's like hardly, it's just a shell. It looks great sitting there. But I'm going to put it up on the lift maybe tomorrow and have a look at it. The wiring needs to be gone through something terrible. Need to get the headlights working. I want to replace those square headlights with round ones. Sorry if this is a boring talking video. But for anybody that's really interested in having a kit car like this, this is something that I've been working on for about 30 years. I first became interested in these back in about 1990 when I was a teenager, when I saw the IFG, Imaginary Fiberglass kits, advertised in the back of Kit Car magazine for $5,000, and it was my dream to buy one. Well, this isn't made by IFG, but here it is all these years later, 30 plus years later, and now I finally have one of these kit cars. Always wanted one, now I got it. I think the reason that this one looks so good is that they didn't try to get all of the sizes in as they did the proportions. It's not as wide as a Lamborghini, which is the good thing. Because on my other car, they tried to make it as wide as a Lamborghini, but they didn't make it as long. So it looks like a big squashed, you know, smash burger version of a Lamborghini. That's why it looks so weird. This one being slightly more narrow is a good thing. It's slightly more in proportion, so it looks great. Paintwork is great on it. And overall, I think it's just a good looking car. It really looks good. So if you're really interested in these cars, make sure that you subscribe and stay tuned. And I'll try to make a playlist for this car for the people that are interested in these kit cars so they can learn more about it. It's been a lot of people's dream to build one of these. And, you know, I've always been in the camp that I know a lot of my other kit car builders disagree with, that I think it's, in some cases, at least for me, better to use the Fiero. Using a Fiero means you're using an antique vehicle that's exempt from emissions and inspections. Means you're using a vehicle with ready-made parts, and you have a full-size footwell that you can move your feet about and get regular GM parts for. I think if this was a car that was made to real Countach spec, I wouldn't even be able to get in and out of it or put my feet in there. I have size 14, 15 shoes, depending on the shoe. So I require a lot of space. Plus I'm 6'2". So this thing, I have tons of room in that car. I can't believe how much room I have for my feet. And I feel like I'm sitting, especially with the top up, but I feel like I'm sitting in there, I got tons of room. So much more room than in the DeLorean up there. All right, well, that's just a little teaser. I got a little treat for you. Adam the Woo is in town. He called me and he wants to go do some stuff tomorrow. So we may skip the video of this and go do some stuff with Adam. I don't know what he wants to do. But anyway, this was supposed to be a really short video and then it got long because I ramble. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got to go to the bathroom. Here you are, my old friend. It's time to poop in you again. Taco Bell has reared its head. My tummy feels like I'll be dead. Ugh.